But, gentlemen, we've complicated masculinity to the extreme. We've made caricatures of what it means to be a man. Some Greek god with 8-pack abs, a voice like a battle drum, and a penis that rivals the biggest great day to be alive. Masculinity, what the hell is it? What does it look like? Is it important or does it even exist? And is it required to be a man? Is it the man's man with 2-ton balls swinging? The guy that effortlessly sleeps with 1,001 women? That one extra added because, hell, anyone can bang out 1,000, right? But 1,001? Well, hell, that's the big leagues, man. So is masculinity the shirtless and ballsy guy swinging from tree vines with a notch count too high to number? And I think that raw physicality that invokes the image we all objectively turn to as the archetype of masculinity is pretty much accurate, but I think there's some room to expand the meaning for the individual. And is masculinity an exclusive virtue? In many ways, yes. Because I'm definitely not the guy that believes anyone can be a woman or a man just because they're in some form of identity crisis. Let's be clear. Man is man, woman is woman. And with that being said, I believe there can be varying tones of what masculinity looks like from man to man. So right now would be a good time to begin to define masculinity, or at least in the Merriam-Webster sort of way. And then maybe we can build from that or come to a better understanding. Webster states masculinity is the quality or nature of the male sex, that state or degree of being manly or masculine. Okay, somewhat vague and left up to an individual's interpretation of what masculine is supposed to be. So I think we should see how Webster defines the word masculine. Webster states that masculine is defined as having qualities appropriate or usually associated with the man, the example given having a deeper voice than the female. So basically Webster's saying masculinity is the characteristics of a man in comparison to a woman, or masculinity being the attributes that separate male from female. Deeper voice, hairier body, though I know some gorillas that identify as women, so who knows, but in simple terms, by default, the very nature of man, voice, look, strength, penis, etc., is an overall general definition of what masculinity is or represents. By being favored with the Y chromosome, you were born into masculinity. But that's purely on a biological level. And on that biological note, all men are masculine. Even the weakest man is often many times stronger than the stoutest female. And as I previously noted, some chicks are pretty hairy as well. If you don't believe me, lift up a blue-haired woman's arm and look under the pit and see. And it may not be a Viking god's beard, but we've all seen a few thick mustaches on some Karens. So I think we should pick up the cultural stone of masculinity and throw that shit around for a minute. Because I believe if I asked 10 men what masculinity is, all 10 men would say something very similar, such as strength, power, courage. He doesn't take any shit, and masculinity is the type of man that other men aspire to be, and what women want as baby daddies. And I'm assuming I'm asking rational men here that actually identify as men and not some leftist asshole that screams at me because masculinity is toxic and men are oppressive pigs. But the dude is clearly a fucking man himself. Cut your penis off, man, or guy, gal, woman, whatever. Moving on. Culturally speaking, and in congruence with the survival of the fittest, we've came to recognize those strong men that are more apt to survive as masculine badasses. They survive not only the harsh elements of nature, but also the harsh elements of other men. Because from antiquity, there have always been other tribes trying to steal your shit, your food, your women, land, and that cool-ass saber-toothed skin hanging on your cave wall that everyone else is jealous of. It's those men that could actually handle their own that came to define masculinity. Manliness is that very virtue, the very agency of what the Y chromosome gender is created to utilize. And not only created, but culturally and biologically expected to utilize. You are strong, logical, you are hard, and there's this competitive nature that beckons you to conquer. So as I stated, masculinity is exclusive. It first requires you have a penis and attributes that physically separate you from women. But remember that I said there are different shades of this masculinity from man to man. Maybe you assert your role as a family man, a leader of the familial unit. Maybe you decide to conquer your finances. Or maybe you are the man that we all secretly are jealous of. Son of a bitch. You decide to conquer the opposite sex. Or maybe you're that warrior that braves the front lines. But, gentlemen, we've complicated masculinity to the extreme. We've made caricatures of what it means to be a man. Some Greek god with 8-pack abs, a voice like a battle drum, and a penis that rivals the biggest donkey. And don't get me wrong, strong and virile should be something we all aspire to be and is very much part of manliness. But masculinity is not some cartoon facade. It literally means being a man. Whether you're 5'3", 6'4", whether you slept with 1,000 women or 1,001 women, one being the big separator here, you are still a man, and masculinity invites you to take care of business and not take shit from anyone or anything, and that includes life. Love and respect, gentlemen. You will hear from me next episode.